So, welcome to tonight's session, Exam Basics and Question Breakdown. My name is Dr. Sapphire Boone. I am the owner of Advanced Social Work Solutions. Yes, thank you. Welcome back. Yes, it's been a little while. It's been a while. We haven't done classes since I think maybe June, around June. So I took a longer break from the summer, um, but still was able to get some good feedback from people that have passed. So excited about that. Definitely um, let me get excited about that. Oh, great, Dana. Thank you so much. So took a little break, but I'm back. I started this company for those that maybe your first time. Let me know in the chat if it's your first time. I started my business back in 2020. I feel like everybody did a lot in 2020. So I started a business. um, and I really was passionate because in my full-time job, I work with students. I work with MSW students, and now I'm working with BSW students as well. And what I saw was that a lot of the students that I was working with also had trouble um, just conceptualizing the exam. And then, of course, I met some people that were also like giving up on social work altogether. I actually just got an email about that not too long ago from one of the universities that I work with. And so I don't have the guarantee, right? I can't guarantee that you will pass. Um, I don't have like magic dust that I can sprinkle on you so that you pass. But what I try to do is I try to simplify it as much as possible. And I try to infuse things that helped me as a visual learner. And I also want to definitely support my Black social workers for sure, because we know the exam is very in terms of the pass rates. You have that disparity there, and so that's before you even start studying, that is a barrier, right? In terms of you thinking that you can pass the exam when you have all this data that speaks negatively, and you have an exam that wasn't really built with you in mind. And so that is really why I started the business. But my business is for everyone. But that is the heart and soul of it, because I don't want social work to not have great Black social workers just because of an exam, right? So I'm here to try to give you all the tips and tricks and hacks that I can find to help you really understand what they are looking for. And that is why we talk about question breakdown almost more than we talk about content, right? Because the content honestly doesn't change and it's pretty straightforward. So it's not really the content, it's more about your ability to manage your anxiety, your confidence in yourself about choosing the right answer, right? And also, um, just you being able to break down and process any type of question. So that's what I am here to do. I'm here to give you confidence, and I'm here to really make sure you understand how and what they are trying to ask you, and how that is different from your practice, right? Because this exam does not define who you are as a social worker. But of course, it doesn't feel like that, right? Because of how much weight is being put on this exam, right? And so I definitely understand that. And so I really like the group approach because we all can really complement and see how each one of us thinks. And so I may think a certain way, you may think a certain way, but because I have others in the group that think like me, they help me understand sometimes how to break down the question, or someone that doesn't think like me, maybe thinks a little bit better in terms of getting it right. Just helps me to understand like how to get that question right. So uh I have a BSW, MSW, and a PhD in social work. No problem. You can switch devices, come right back in. So I also have my master's license. We call it LMSW in Maryland. When I first got it, it was called something else. So it's LMSW, but that's the master's level. Um, and then I also have the LCSW. In Maryland, that's not the clinical license, that's the advanced generalist. Because by, I guess, what I do. I'm not a clinician. Um, I work at a university, I work with students, and I used to work in child welfare. So those are kind of my expertise areas. But the great thing about me is that I also am a professor and I teach. And so what I do with the exam is I really help to give it like a classroom feel and really help you to learn not only the content, but again, how to approach this test so that you can be successful, because it is a standardized test, and so there has to be some type of process or some type of kind of not formula, but a pattern that you can figure out and crack it and be able to get the right answer. Um, and so my course, so I have two services that I offer. I offer an online course, which everyone that purchases the bundle that I'm offering right now, where you get the classes, you also get the online course. Um, and then I also have the classes. So those are my two forms. I don't have one-on-one tutoring. I used to offer that in the beginning. But what I found was that uh people didn't do their homework. That's number one. So that made me mad. But also what I found is that I could do it in a group setting and you're getting the same exact information that I am um you're getting the same exact information in the group that I would give you as an individual. And then if there's things that you would like me to individualize or personalize or questions that you have specific to you, I answer them in the group, or we can also talk via email. I've helped a lot of people via email. It may seem like, oh, that's not going to be a lot of support, but they will send me questions and we'll break down the answers together in email. So it has worked that way too. Um and so those are the two services I offer, and I do have some classes coming up. I will just show that really quickly. My class content, um I do shift some things, but because the information is like, social work, we're still talking about Freud. So the information is kind of, it's kind of steady. So it's not necessarily something that changes a lot, but when I see that there are opportunities to add some like trendy topics or hot topics, I definitely add to content. And the great thing about my online course, right now, the platform I use is Kajabi. And when I make updates to the course, it's automatic that it's updated and you have the updated version. So all of the updates would be on there. So I just want to show you, as soon as I can find it, my flyer for this upcoming class. And then we will get started with some basics. Um, is there anyone that is doing the exam for the very first time, or this is your first time? Well, let me roll it back. Is this the first time you are studying for a social work exam? Let me know, because that will help me to know if we can like skip through some of the basics and just get to the question breakdown. So let me know in the chat. I'm pulling up the flyer. I don't know why I couldn't find it on my computer. So every class we will do a lecture style. So we'll start with lecture, and then we will do 10 questions per class. And then you get 10 questions for homework. And these questions are going to be different from what's on the online course. So I try to make sure that you have the online course and then you also have um, the questions we go over in class be a little different. Sometimes I change them up as well. So this is the flyer. Um, Tonight is free on October 21st. That's also free, the diagnosis and medication. So with the VIP bundle, you're paying for 4 classes. Um, and normally they are 40 a piece, except for practice questions is normally 47. So you are getting a savings, and you're getting the replay bundle as well. You'll have access to that for 4 months as well. We're going to go over theories and ethics, direct practice, macro practice, and practice questions. With direct practice, I have these little asterisks because my material is geared towards the master's level. However, as you saw in the chat, I often have people who I have helped for the master's. They come back and they use my material for the clinical exam and they have found success. But I do understand that a lot of times people would prefer material just for the clinical exam, but there is a lot of information overlap. A lot of books, you will find books that are separate, but sometimes you'll find books that have both the master's level and the clinical level material in it because the human behavior doesn't change, the community doesn't change, community practice, macro practice, that stuff doesn't change. Really, the only difference is that the clinical exam is going to be focused on clinical interventions, more about the doing than the more about the why or the how than the what, right? So I'm more focused on the actions that you're going to take versus just what is it. And then also the other thing that's different is differential diagnosis. So on the master's level, it's more about just symptom recognition, whereas the clinical, you are really doing more of a deeper dive into that diagnosis area. But I just saw a post on one of the Facebook groups, and it talked about how she took the clinical, and it wasn't a lot of clinical stuff on there. So that's why my material probably is helpful because it also focuses on all areas, not just the clinical piece. So if you are going to use my material for the clinical exam, just make sure you're also getting that clinical intervention information. We go over interventions, but making sure that you know those therapy approaches and how they connect to theory is important. Um, but also it's going to have other things on there that I cover. So you will have majority, of the information we're gonna use is beneficial. And I also have on my Kajabi, let me pull up my Kajabi just really quickly so you can just see what it looks like for those that don't have it or haven't used it. It has in my full practice exam section, I do have 70, I think it's 75 questions that are geared towards clinical. And those were crafted by a clinician. I always, when I do anything clinical, I always work that with someone that has their clinical and is in the actual, profession and practice of doing therapy and all things clinical, to help me really make sure my questions were kind of spot on. So I do have 75 questions. And sometimes what will happen is that me and the she's my friend. We did our PhD together. We will partner and we'll have a session just about clinical material. So I haven't talked to her yet, but we'll probably have one before the year is out, I'm sure. Okay, so I just want to show you the course really quickly. This one. Preview. Do you ask ethical questions too? Absolutely. Yes, ethics is also one of those overlap where it's on everything, right? Ethics, human behavior is on every exam. So this is my Kajabi. It's just built like a online course where you go through the modules. Every module has a video, a quiz, and handouts. And then every module has 20 questions. And then at the end, I have a 170 question practice exam. That's going to be more geared towards the master's level, but clinical test takers can take that as well. And then I have an exam prep, clinical exam prep questions, the 75 I was talking about, that are on here as well. So just want to show you what that looks like. And if you've already purchased the online course and you would like to re-up on it, um, just reach out to me via email. Because I say 4 months just so that everyone won't stay on forever and ever, but you can reset it as as much as you want. As long as I have the platform, you can reset it. It's not forever because the platform is expensive. um, but yes, just let me know, reach out to me, and we will make sure that your access gets extended. All right. So we have some first timers, but I'll go through this information pretty quickly. So if you are kind of new, or even if you're resetting and have taken the exam before and want to take it again, you want to look at your content outlines. So I put them here. You're able to click them. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me drop some things in here. How do I reach for the online course? So my online course is called Replay Bundle. So make sure you click the right link for that. And then here's the presentation that we're going over tonight. So you can download and have that, but I'll also email it out as well. So you want to start with your content outline. It's going to look like your MSW or your clinical experience, just like kind of like threw up on the page. Is really long, but it gives you an idea of what you should be focusing on. um what they will do is sometimes they will change the content of the exam to update it. They aren't as transparent of when those kind of updates happen. So I've heard like it's supposed to be updated like 2024, then I heard like 2025. So I don't know they've updated it and what those updates will include. So the last time that they updated the exam, they put more community questions on it. And so everybody was kind of in a frenzy because they hadn't really focused on community questions as much in the past, but now they were coming on the exam in more abundance. And so what they will do is they will test questions out. So 20 of your questions are going to be test questions that don't count. So that could have been why there were so many community questions, but that continues to be the number one thing that people say or are surprised by. The post I was talking about earlier also talked about how there was a lot of macro even on the clinical exam. So it is an area that I always want you to make sure that you are versed in. Here's just a little bit information about the scoring. Another one I wanted to highlight is an accommodation. So I also am a free service is helping you to write the narrative for your accommodation. So, what that means is if you are interested in applying for a non standard testing accommodation, then I do not do it for you. It's not that type of service. But if you write your narrative, I can look at it to see what you should change because they really are looking for kind of why you need it. What's the reason that you need it? Do you have any accommodations at work? Like basically evidence to support why you should get this accommodation. The most common accommodation would be extra time. I've also heard that some people can also get a private room. And then probably I would say the most I don't know if it's most or least restrictive, but the most accommodation that I've heard is a paper exam. But I imagine that there's a lot that goes into who gets a paper exam. But extra time in a private room, I heard, is not as hard to get. Um, Not everyone needs an accommodation, but don't be ashamed if you need one. If you run out of time, or if you've had an attempt where you ran out of time, you probably would benefit from an accommodation. One of the newer changes that they just made April 2025 is that the exam now has a mandatory, how do I say this? They break up the exam into two parts, not content wise, but just the amount. So they do 85 questions, then they give you a break. Um, and then once you submit those first 85 questions, you can't go back. I believe the break, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think you have the option to skip the break, but you don't have an option of like not having the two parts. So everyone has two parts, 85 and then 85. Um, it's 2 hours for the first 85, 2 hours for the second 85. And let me know if I'm missing something. It's fairly new, so I'm still kind of trying to figure out like the science behind it. I think they just wanted to make sure that you had a break built in. And the break, I believe, is 10 minutes. Um, and the break no longer counts for your overall time. So they were trying to give you a built-in break, but it also created a divide in your test. And so that can be a little stressful because you can't go back to the first part after you submit it. So but once you're in the 85, you can go back and look at your questions. But once you hit the submit, then that first part is over, and now it's just the second cluster of questions. And let me know if you have anything to add to that, if you have experience. I always want to tell you that I'm here to help you. Would I like you to use my product? Sure, but it's up to you. I know that my product is not the only one, it's not the best. It is just my style. And so you want to make sure that whoever you are with, that you like their style. So here are some other people. I am not getting any type of, not affiliated with anybody. These are just the channels that people use. And it's always newer ones that pop up. And so if there's one that's not on here, please share it in the chat. But there is a Facebook group that seems to be helpful with free resources. There is a Quizlet that I offer for studying. One of my previous students created it and gave me permission to share the link. I haven't checked it in a while, but it should still be active. This is a Quizlet for practice questions. Sometimes that does go inactive because they are taken, wherever they get their questions. And then the behavioral health app, which is here. Sometimes the color of the app is different for different people. So if you do not have this app on your phone, I do recommend it. And if there are other apps that you use, go ahead and let me know in the chat. Is the Quizlet link for LCSW? So this Quizlet was specifically for the master's level. So it has like a lot of theories and stuff on there. But if theories is not your strong suit, then it will probably help you out as well. Oh, I wonder what made them add the break. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I like to flag things, then go back. You can still do that. So you can still flag and go back, but it's just within that first 85. You can flag and go back. You can still do that. But once you hit the submit button, once your 2 hours approaches or you are finished with the first 85 and you hit the submit button, it is now accounted for. With the second 85, you can still flag it and go back. You can still move all around, but it's just 85. It's not all 170 together, okay? So you can still flag, you can still do those things. Yeah, hopefully it will help with the anxiety, possibly. um, so Agents of Change has a podcast if you're an auditory listener. TED Talks, which is right here. Just My Confidence has free study groups on Sundays and also offers free individual tutoring. I think that part is limited, but please check him out. Um, we are good friends, and so he is doing this just to help others as he needed help himself when he was taking the exam and wants to pay it forward. And then these are just some channels as well that you can check out. All these are free. The behavioral health app does have a paid version, but um which I do recommend if you like the free version. What does TDC stand for? Here it is right here. Therapist Development Center is what TDC stands for. These are my recommendations for paid materials. So Don Apgar has a book. If you're a physical person, you want to see like a physical book. I don't have a book, but Don Apgar has a physical book, and I believe she's on the fourth edition. And this fourth edition does have extra questions that the last editions didn't have. And it also comes with an app. So in terms of a book, Dawn Apgar would be my number one. Licensingprep.com or Leap also has a lot of great and very want to say what do I want to say dependable dependable resource, has a high success rate as well. And then Therapist Development Center has to be my fan favorite. A lot of my clients that I work with also use Therapist Development Center, so the material complements each other pretty good. It does offer a lot of videos, but also has handouts and has tons of practice questions, which people really love as well. All right. Any other resources that you use? Any other books? Um, or any other things that you think would be helpful? Go ahead and put those in the chat. I don't see too many other resources, but go ahead and put those in the chat. There's YouTube channels or something that you normally use. So every class I go over extra hot topics. These are things that are like trending right now in the exam world. And so that's something you just want to keep in mind. I obviously I don't make the exam. I have no idea what's on it. Sometimes people are like, "Oh my gosh, Dr. Boone, I saw a question that we went over in class." And I'm like, I don't write the exam. I'm sure it was not on there. However, I try to make sure my material is up to date. I wish I could tell you exactly what's going to be on your exam so that you can just study what's going to be on your exam. But they have so many versions. Um, and so it can be very tricky to know like how many of medication you're going to get, or how many community you're going to get, or how many research questions, if any, you get. So those things can be a little tricky, but you'll see a lot of research kind of hot topics on here because those are things that people forget to study or just shock people. Like, why are we talking about mode, median, and mean? Like, what in the world? But social workers are researchers too, so they put that in there as part of your macro side. So just things for you to keep in mind that may show up on your exam. I start off with hot topics because it's also good if you don't know um, where to start. So if you're like, oh my gosh, Dr. Boone, where should I start? I'm just starting back studying. I typically say definitely start with your weak areas if you've had attempts in the past. Um, but if you're kind of starting fresh, I definitely have hot topics for each class so that you'll know exactly where to start. So the method that I use for question breakdown is the liked method. And it really is not anything genius. It really is just how to process multiple choice questions is really the method, but I liked using it because it helped me to do something systematically every time. This does not depend on the question like some of our other acronyms. Um, and so, although it is an acronym, it's not telling you what to do, it's just telling you how to process. Okay, the exam will be changing in January 2026 with the content areas being condensed into 3 instead of 4. Oh, thank you, Shayla. I did not know that. Well, good. I just went on their website today trying to look for if there were any updates. I didn't click too much, but okay, condense it into 3 instead of 4. Well, that will be interesting. That will be interesting. So can't wait to see that update. So take your exam before January 2026. Take it before then so that you don't have to adjust your strategy. That sounds like that's a good I feel like that's a good strategy. Take it before January 2026. So last sentence first, identify the type of question, key concepts, eliminate 2 answers and distractor. It's really important for you to know what it okay, so it doesn't you don't have to know exactly what type of question, but you should know what are you trying to answer? Like what is the focus of the question? And sometimes that can lie in the type of question because obviously a clinical question is going to be very different from a diversity question, right? For diversity, you want a diversity answer. You don't want a clinical answer, right? And so it's really important for you to know that, hey, this is a diversity question, and I do need to look at this a little bit differently. Okay, I have some tips on here. We're gonna go through most of them, but I did want to go over this one because everyone struggles with second guessing. Stick to your first choice. Trust your preparation. Remember, I talked about confidence? That's where it lies right there. Use the like method and stick to it. Now, I do realize that some people don't like the like method, so it is absolutely up to you. But increasing your confidence is really the point. Practice, 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 and time yourself. The closer you get, you want to be able to sit for 4 hours doing a test of 170 questions because that is a lot. You don't need to be doing it like early on in your study journey, but you should be kind of making sure you're able to build up that stamina, especially the mental capacity to sit for 4 hours in front of a screen. That's a lot. Make sure that you are practicing positive self talk and grounding techniques as you are studying because the more you infuse it into your practice in terms of when you're studying, the better it will be in the actual exam. Okay. um I don't recommend these acronyms, and the only reason I don't is because not all of the questions are you going to be able to apply it to. So typically, when I work with clients, they tell me that when they try to use some of these, they don't know when to use it. Um, so that's just my recommendation. Some people have success with these. So if you know how to use it and use it properly, but something like you can't use something 100% of the time because it might not be about assessing, it might be about community, and then this doesn't really work. Right? And so you want to make sure that you are able to answer multiple and various diverse types of questions so that you'll be able to be confident with no matter what type of question gets thrown your way. Okay, we're gonna do some practice. So, the way I like to do it on the class is normally I'll do a poll, but tonight we're just doing a few. So, I'm gonna give you a few seconds to review the question. When I let you know it's safe, go ahead and put your answer in the chat, and then we'll review the answer together.
Hey, Dr. Sapphire. It might be my view, but part of the question is saying you are viewing Sapphire's screen, and that little reminder is blocking the whole part of the question, like that first line, and it might be just how I'm viewing you.
Can you move it?
Let me see. It's hold on. Mm, I'm just I can. It's still there, but I can I can just.
Okay, pull it up on your phone too if you're able to. Let me put the slides in the chat again. That way you can pull it up on your phone too.
All right, let me go back on mute. Just touch screen. Oh, mute.
All right, go ahead and put your answers in. Tell me what type of question this is. Okay, according to Erickson's theory, so what type of question is this? We already know it's human behavior. It's a theory question. What is the most likely challenge she is facing? And we know that Erickson is all about the crises of each stages. A 28-year-old tells the social worker she avoids romantic relationships because she fears getting hurt and losing herself. She's had several short-term relationships but ends them abruptly. So it's asking what the current challenge she's facing. And we have a year. We have 28 years old. And so that typically, when it comes to theory and stages, will help you a lot. So the answer is B. In young adulthood, forming deep, meaningful relationships is key. Avoidance may indicate a struggle with intimacy versus isolation, which is the stage. A is resolved earlier. And C is more of a characteristic of adolescence. All right, let's do 2. Make sure you read the last sentence first. And make sure that you're also going over your key concepts. So in the last one, the blue teal color is the answer. The yellow is my distractor. And then the red is what I eliminated first. So it's really a process of elimination. You want to eliminate what is absolutely not the answer. A is nowhere near 28, and so that's why it would be that way. You're still not seeing the whole question. All right, let me see if I can fix it. Did anything I do help? Help the view? I'm trying to figure it out. Oh, it did? Okay. I don't know what I did. I just messed around with the stuff. Okay. But I'm glad you can see it better. Okay. What should the social worker do first? A 55-year-old man meets with a social worker due to a long history of depression. So we already know that we most likely are therapists because we're talking about depression. The client reports that he has a stable job, good physical health, and some friendships, but says, I've never been in a close, emotionally intimate relationship. I just don't think I'm wired that way. He also mentions feeling emotionally disconnected, but insists that his daily functioning is fine. He appears calm but somewhat distant during the session. What should the social worker do first? When it asks you what to do first, you want to make sure that you put the answers in order from last to first. So if we put them in order from last to first, what would come last? Or what just doesn't make sense for the actual question? Okay, D, enjoy, I said enjoy. Encourage the client to join a support group, right? That's an intervention. And we're not in the intervention stage. So we would get rid of D. C, I'm seeing a lot of C's. Get rid of C too. Refer the client for a psychiatric evaluation to address possible medication needs. That is kind of a form of assessment, but a later assessment, a further assessment. And we're still trying to do our assessment. And so now we're down to B and A. And so from B and A, which one would come first? Conduct a comprehensive assessment or explore the client's lack of emotional intimacy in romantic relationships. And when you have two assessments, you want to pick the one that gives you the most information, because when you are assessing, you want more information. When you are addressing feelings, then you would address feelings, but this is not about addressing feelings. We are trying to figure out what information we need to help our client. And so the answer is A. Yep, A, gather information. But B is like a really good, right? Because it says explore. It talks about exactly what the question talks about. But again, when you have an assessment question, so we have two assessment options. B is assessing, right? And so we want to do the option that gives us the most information. Gives us the full scope of the client's challenges and strengths. We have a presenting problem, which is the depression, but we need to figure out why or what factors are contributing to the depression. And so we don't want to hyper focus. Probably A would also include B. And so that's why A is going to be the better choice and the first option in this scenario. This type of question is just a regular practice question going through our stages of practice. Good job. Number 3. Hopefully you can see it. If not, there's a button that says layout on my end. I know Zoom keeps doing updates, so maybe if you go on your toolbar and hit layout, it may help you to adjust so that you can see the question better. All right, what should a social worker do next? Next is also like first, so we're going to put them in order. And then first and next also brings up safety feelings assessment in that order. So for first and next, you want to keep in mind, doesn't mean it equals, but you want to, I'm going to put the squiggly, which is not equals, but like kind of safety, feelings, assessment in that order because the test is very order process driven. And so a school social worker is asked to evaluate a 9-year-old who has recently been suspended. That's our presenting problem. Teachers describe the student as very intelligent, capable of completing work, but often arrives late, appears tired, and wears the same clothes multiple days in a row. And also, we see a little further down that he asks his classmates for food often during lunch. We see anytime you see anything about abuse or neglect, it could be a safety issue or a safety question. And so you just want to confirm it. So a lot of times with safety questions, the answers actually give you the clue that this might be a safety question. So B is like a safety answer. And so we would just want to see, is this really are there indicators for neglect, or is there some kind of red flags that would uh that would um, compel us to assess further for indicators of neglect? And so the answer is B, because we do see these things as indicators. They do not mean that neglect is happening. They're more like red flags, right? Hey, these are things we should kind of keep in mind. Um, and we want to assess further. It doesn't say report because there's nothing reportable here. We just want to see if there's anything that we should be concerned about by seeing, maybe what's going on with the clothes, what's going on with possibly food. Is there issues at home? Those types of things. So you can see I got rid of psychiatric evaluation because that doesn't fit with the question at all. So that doesn't fit. So we got rid of that. And then recommend behavioral therapy, although that sounds really good and we like therapy, um, because we know that next we want to put them in order. We know that assess comes before therapy. And we also identified that this is a safety question and that we want to give a safety answer for a safety situation. Okay, we'll do 4 and then we'll do 5, and then you have some questions to also do for homework. What I'll probably do, because I had like 15 on here, what I'll probably do is I might go live on either Facebook or Instagram. I'll make sure to put it on my social media. Um, I'll record myself kind of going through the questions like we are now, and post that on YouTube as well. So you'll have that video as well. Okay, number 4. All right. So once we talk about ethics, we'll get more into assert privilege. But if you pick C, that is correct. you're not sure what asserting privilege means, then we'll get more into detail in our first class next week. Okay, and the last question we will do for tonight is 5. All right, I see all of the answers coming in. What type of question is this? Perfect community. Yes, we're going to have a whole class of community where we go through questions like this and some a little bit harder. What is a social worker most likely doing? And most is difficult. Most and best questions can be a little bit difficult because it's like, what is best according to who? And, so you want to make sure that your answer kind of matches the scenario. And then when in doubt, look at the second to last sentence. Sometimes there's a lot of good information in there, but this question only has like 2 sentences. So um, we see that we need to conduct a needs assessment because we are gathering input from multiple stakeholders to identify gaps and challenges, which is the core purpose of a needs assessment. We talk about what stakeholders are and how they are used in community organizing. We also talk about policy advocacy, even though this question is not talking about policy advocacy. We also talk about policy analysis in our macro class as well. And we talk about research. We talk about all the great macro things happening. So we'll talk more about that as well. And again, there are 15 questions in total, so there's more where that came from. But thank you so much. Oh, what is the best study group um or the program to purchase when testing in November? So we actually have classes. I have to remind myself. I would say if you do the bundle, you get both. So you'll do the classes, which will help you with your studying. And then you'll have the course after the classes end. So you'll still have access to that for 4 months. And again, like I know life happens. And so if you need your your access extended longer. I wanted to purchase the classes in October. Can I watch the recordings at a later time? Absolutely. And if you don't want to do all 4 classes, I do have drop-in rates where you could just purchase 1 or 2 classes. That's fine too. Um, and then I also offer the course by itself for $99. Um, if we purchased the bundle in the past, do we have to repurchase? Just email me because it just depends on what you have already done in the past. Typically, my course, you don't have to rebuy it. But with the classes, it is a fee associated with it just because I am, it's live. And so we're talking about the content. But if you have access to like the course, um, you could if so you don't have to do our class, buy the classes again. You just watch them, as we go along. Too. Do you recommend attending all courses to study, or should we be studying the material in between courses. Absolutely. I give you homework. So yes. Yes. So you're going to be studying in between our classes. I think if that's what you're saying, should we be studying material in between? Yeah. Yeah, you're going to be studying in between. Absolutely. Um and what will happen is we'll have the class. I'll give you homework, and then that week you'll study the material. Obviously, some material, of course, requires a little bit more than a week, but yes, access to the material. Yes, I just sent you a welcome email. So if you purchased already, you should have received a welcome email that gives you access. So look back over that email, and the link to the course is in there. And then once you hit that link, it'll ask you for like your email, your name. You'll create a password, and then make sure you bookmark that Kajabi site. That's the same site that you would log into to access the course. But if you have problems with your password or anything like that, reach out to me because I can resend your password and do all those types of things on my end too. So let me know. Look back over your email. If you still have issues, let me know. So my last message that I want to give you is schedule the exam. Go ahead and schedule your exam. I know that I have some that have are coming back after not studying for a while, or may have some previous attempts, or maybe you just psyched yourself out and you never even tried to attempt. Whatever the your scenario is, you want to make sure that you schedule your exam. And it sounds like normally when they make a change, it's normally not that bad. So even if you take your exam after January 2026, it looks like they're just reorganizing things and not necessarily adding anything or changing something too bad. Right now, the changes should really be helpful because they've gotten a lot of advocacy, and a lot of people were mad at them. So they should, whatever changes are coming should benefit for the most part. Do I have a deadline to purchase the material? So our first class is next week, right? Our first class is next week. Let me make sure I'm not lying. Yeah, the 7th. Our first class is the 7th, Theories and Ethics. So you definitely want to purchase it before the 7th or on the 7th so that you can join us on the 7th. Since that's one of the 4 classes that is included. I'm scared. I'm scheduled and a little scared. That's okay. It's okay. But you're scheduled. That and you can always change it, but scheduling it really helps. When does class end? We normally do about 2 hours. So this class is at 8. So I'm glad you asked that question. This class is at 8 because it's free. It's just like a little snippet. But our regular classes start at 7 Eastern time, 7 p.m. Eastern time, and last about 2 hours. Because like I said, we're doing lecture and questions. Do I have to wait for board approval before scheduling the exam? Yes, you do. Yeah, you do. In Maryland, yep. I wanted to purchase on 10/15. Yeah, and let me know if we need to work something out where you need like a little time, but you still want to go to October 7th, just reach out to me, okay? Yep. Starts October 7th. Oh, how long? How many days? Okay, let me put the schedule back up. Hold on. Let me see. Where are you, Google? There you are. We go until November 4th. So here's the schedule. So we have October 7th, October 14th, October 28th, November 4th, all on Tuesdays. And then we also have an October 21st in there too. So October 7th, October 14th, October 21st, October 28th, November 4th. So they're all every week. Normally I put a break in there, but I didn't because it's close to Thanksgiving. So I wanted to be done before Thanksgiving. So it's week, 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 week. Yeah, just email me if you need time. You purchased a bundle, don't have the welcome email, check your spam. Sometimes it's in the spam. I can resend it though, but sometimes it goes to the spam. Yes, please email me about any processes in Maryland. I'm pretty good with the process in Maryland. Not necessarily good with anything else. I haven't studied in a while. I have psyched myself out, but should I apply with the board and upon approval, apply for the exam, all while studying with your course? Absolutely. I do recommend that you have a date because sometimes what happens is you study with me, you come to the classes, but then you never schedule the exam, and then life happens, and then you don't take the exam. So it's really better, in my opinion, if you have a date that's coming up, and then that way you're fresh, like the information is fresh, and then you can take your exam. Because if there's like 4 or 5 months before you actually take the exam versus when you started, it's not bad because you obviously have the online course and can still watch the replays, but it's just better when your exam is coming up and then you're able to study and then also take the exam like not far from when we stop. Because to be honest, it is a great motivator, which can be hard. I'm not saying you can't be motivated without me, but it's just hard when you like get going, you're on a schedule, you have a routine, and then if it doesn't end with like a test, then it can be hard to maintain it if you're doing it for like months and months. Like if you're not going to take it until like maybe February, that might be a little bit harder since it'll be like so much time in between. Yeah, so I recommend 6 hours per week. It's an average. Um, and you can break that up however you would like to per day. And it really is based upon you. So, like me, I could study for long periods of time and be fine. Some people cannot, and 15 minutes is about all they got. Studying includes listening to things in your car. If you're listening to podcasts, that counts. If you're doing your questions on Behavioral Pocket Prep app, that counts. Okay, so all of that counts. Clinical questions are included in the bundle. Everything I showed you is just one bundle, it's all included. Nothing separate. Nope. Do you know how far out they are scheduling? Is there a wait? I do not know because it depends on your site. In Maryland, when you're scheduling, it depends on your test site. But I would get in before all of your graduates, because that graduation time, like February, March, at least in Maryland we can sit the last semester, so those times, like that's it's a hard time to get in. So this is actually perfect because people are trying to pass it before the year is out, so this might be a good time. um so even if you start the process now, you might still be able to get a date, while we're still studying. So, or not too far off from it. So, yes, as quickly as you can. Okay, perfect. Yes. Yes, we get through it together. It's a lot of material, but I try to make it fun and we try not to, you know, keep it crazy. Also, if you're looking to buy the bundle, ask your employer. Ask your employer, okay? Because oh, sure. Because your employer may pay for me. So if they need an invoice or they need some type of documentation to pay for the exam, I mean not the exam, to pay for your testing, your test course, your test prep. I mean, it doesn't hurt to ask, and a lot of businesses do have money for like professional development, which is what this is. So, yes. Come on, birthday, holiday gift. Yes. Yeah, Maryland is a doozy. It's just, I can tell you that for sure. So we got to get all that information before, yep, we take the exam. Well, I really enjoyed tonight. I hope you did as well. Um, I'm gonna post this on YouTube so you'll be able to see the recording back. I will also attach a longer video of the liked method where I go through it step by step. Um, but for those who are already registered, I will see you next Tuesday. Um, and I will be sending out some more information about registration and purchasing and all the things. But thank you so much for tonight. And if I don't see you until October 21st, that's fine too. I'll see you October 21st. Are you going to send us the rest of the questions? Yes, I'm going to put the slides. They're in the slides. So I'm gonna put it in the chat one more time. Hopefully you can download it, but I'll also be emailing it out, and typically give me about 2 days. It normally takes me about 2 days and I'll send that out too. Yes, have a great evening. I will see you next week.